that happens over and over, you know, and it's really worth thinking about because, well, when you might think, well, is that somehow embedded in the Marxist doctrine? Is it an inevitable consequence of the unfolding of these ideas? And someone like Ayn Rand, for example, would say definitely, and Solzhenitsyn made that case too in the Gulag Archipelago, but it's not self-evident. But I think there's a level underneath the ideas that you could go and say, well, what's motivating this? Is it actually like saintly compassion for the downtrodden? Or is it resentment about the fact that life is unfair and tragic, which it definitely it is? Mm-hmm. Well, you know, by their fruits ye shall know them. That's the answer to that question. It's like, well, if 30, 40 million people die in the aftermath of the revolution, and a tremendous number of them are ordinary people, and that happens repeatedly, it's like, oh, well, I guess it must be resentment and hatred, because like, how else do you account for all of that?
The proof is in the pudding, so to speak.
Well, if you're not willing to accept that sort of thing as proof, you've got to also ask, like, well, okay, what would you allow to falsify your theory? Like, how many corpses have to stack up before you think?
And the number is pretty high already, so
it's uncountable. You know, like, we don't know. We don't know how many people died as a consequence of communist totalitarianism. It could be 50 million, it could be 150 million. Those are big error bars.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a big problem when you can't count in the tens of millions, when you can't get the damn estimate right. And it happened in multiple cultures, right? Because you might say, well, it was just specific to a time and place. It wasn't intrinsic to this radical doctrine. Yeah, well, there's not that much that's the same about the Soviet Union and all of its countries, let's say. Broad range of cultures. Maoist China, Cambodia, you know, places in Africa as well. These aren't the same places, but nonetheless, you drop that poisonous seed in there, and it's like mayhem in no time flat, and nothing works. Like so I'm going for the don't be thinking that you're so saintly just because you claim to stand for the oppressed. It's like examine your conscience. And well,
but that thing though is a drug to people, right? I mean that. You know, what we refer to as virtue signaling and all of that, but that feeling that you're always looking out for everyone else, you'll always sacrifice yourself for anyone else, you'll always attack the privileged and supposed people above you. It really, there's something in that has like an addictive quality,
well,
right?
The question is, what's the drug? You know, the drug might be, oh, I'm a good person, maybe, but like a more psychoanalytically minded person might say, no, that's not actually the drug. The drug is the hatred and the rationalization for the use of power and the wish for totalitarian control and tyrannical rule that the mask of virtue covers. So the virtue signaling, actually, that's not what's really providing the big kick. You know, it's like, I'm a good person. It's like, no, it's even better than this. It's like, I've got a place to direct my worst impulses. I don't even have to notice them myself because I've got this mask of virtue, and so I can let let's call them, you know, the demonic forces that make up part of the human psyche. I can let them have carte blanche and then also say that I'm virtuous. You know, I would say that's
a powerful combination.
Yeah, well, it looks like it's a powerful combination. I mean, if you look at the way people behave, historically speaking, it looks. I mean, it's often that great horrors are perpetrated by people who mask them in a utopian covering, right?
Right.
Because nobody comes out and says, "Hey, well, I'm Satan himself." You know, it's like, I'm out here to do harm.
Right.
That isn't what people. But somehow harm gets done.
Yeah.